Do you guys want to know what I just spent, I don't know, the last 6 hours of my life doing? Well, it was all inspired by this dude right here, Brian, who made a comment on Dan Crenshaw's page when Dan Crenshaw posted this about these compounds, which I found super inspiring. But then, of course, I had to go to the comment section to see what everybody else was saying. And when I saw that Brian had posted this, telling Dan to be careful talking about these compounds, I had to investigate further. So you can see here, Brian says, please be careful. NPR had a debate arguing the use of psych, and the man against cited a 40-fold increase in schizophrenia with no benefits. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to check this out. Who would say such a thing? Is this true? So I found the NPR debate. Here it is right here. You can pause and look it up, and I suggest you go check it out. In it, this man, Kevin Sabet, does not say a 40-fold increase, but he does say there's a 21-fold increase in people getting diagnosed with schizophrenia if they use these compounds, which still sounds pretty wild to me. So next, I found the study that Kevin Sabet was referring to, and I printed it because I'm old school. And this is where I learned Kevin Sabet is extremely misleading when he uses his words. And this is why I make this content here, because the stigma associated with these compounds needs to stop. And people like Kevin Sabet, who seems to be very involved in this space, really needs to stop manipulating numbers. So Kevin Sabet said a lot of misleading things about these compounds in the debate, but I just want to focus on what got through to Brian, who then felt the need to post on Dan Crenshaw's post of, this is getting so complicated. Why do I do this? Brian, I do this for you. So Brian Sabet specifically says that there was a 21-fold increase in schizophrenia in people that use these compounds in a study of 9 million people, which is like, what? So he didn't lie. It's true. In this paper, you can look at the numbers through a lens that allows you to say that. However, it's true. There were 9 million people in this study, but this was 9 million people that went to the emergency room. The vast majority of them, all but 5,000, went for every other reason except for the use of these compounds. Of those 5,000 people, 36.6% of them admitting to using the emergency room for help because they consumed these compounds, which were a whole spectrum of compounds, not necessarily something I would say fall into the category of the compounds I talk about. But they consumed some substance that they got in a way that was not regulated, with the intent of harming themselves. So 36% of this small 5,000 group of people were intending to harm themselves when they consumed certain compounds. This is the sample size that then later were found to be diagnosed with something on the schizophrenia spectrum disorder. So not what the public might think of as full-blown schizophrenia, where their perception of reality is completely skewed. The spectrum is a lot more nuanced there. But Kevin Sabet really wanted the public to perceive it a different way. So he left the word spectrum out of there, which is really, really important. And he talked about the 9 million people from the data that they pulled. It's so dishonest. That's what I really don't like, is the dishonesty of the people that are arguing against the use of these compounds. I wish I could have been in that debate. I would really like to debate people on these things, because I think I'm ready at this point. Yeah, if anybody wants to put me out there, I'm available. DM me.